Well, welcome back to the after Christmas edition of 42nd Street Pete's Grindhouse, and I got this from my girl Lorena here, the Gorilla Monsoon biography, which I can't wait to dig into maybe later on today or something like that. But anyway, to address a situation, I got the results back from my MRI this morning, and it's inconclusive. They say there's nothing there, they can't see anything, but something did happen. I'm still waiting for the results back from my carotid artery scan, because maybe there's the problem, maybe there isn't enough blood going to my brain. I don't know at this point. The other issue was that basically in the middle of all this, my insurance company told me that basically they're negotiating with my primary care physician, my specialist, and my hospital, and they may not be taking this insurance after the first of the year. But of course, they won't know till January 2nd, which sent me scrambling to find a company that did cover the doctors I'm going to, because it's so damn hard to find a good doctor nowadays, and everybody knows this. So that sort of screwed a bunch of stuff up. Plus, I have 3 prescriptions that I have to take, which were canceled, and I had to go rectify that yesterday. So, bunch of shit going on. I don't know. Something happened. Obviously, I wouldn't have driven myself to the ER with my hand shaking if something didn't happen. And somebody might say, well, why didn't you call an ambulance? Because I didn't want to get caught with a $1,500 copay. Plus, honestly, do you think I was in my right mind when I got there? All I wanted to do was get there and get some kind of help. So that's where it's at. I don't know what else to say about that. I did what I had to do. You saw the video. You saw the results of after I got done. So I wasn't in good shape. And like I said, there's still no answers, and I'm just, still looking. But be that as it may, I thank the people that reached out. I thank the people that, wished me a Merry Christmas, and I do likewise. And I thank the people who have donated to the cause. It's much appreciated. So anyway, on with the show. You go back into the Grindhouse era, and there were certain names that dominated marquees back there according to genres. Like, Lee Van Cleef is Sabata. Lee Van Cleef is violent in the Day of Anger. Charles Bronson is the mechanic. Clint Eastwood is the man with no name. Jim Brown is Slaughter. Fred Williamson is the Hammer. So you get my drift? But the only name that was ever put over a horror movie back in the day, from the late 60s to the mid-80s, was Vincent Price. Vincent Price was the horror icon on the marquees at the grindhouses. And his output during the 70s and 80s was amazing. But one film he did in '68 stands out as maybe his best and most sadistic performance. And that was a film released by AIP called The Conqueror Worm. Well, The Conqueror Worm isn't the original title. The original title was The Witchfinder General, directed by Michael Reeves. And Michael Reeves had wanted Donald Pleasance to play the lead of Matthew Hopkins, who was actually a Witchfinder general back in England, who him and his buddy Stern killed over 300 people, mostly women, that were accused of witches. So there was a clash because AIP wanted Price there, because Price was their known draw. Of course, Price and Reeves clashed on the set. Reeves basically told Price, you're not the guy I wanted, and Price came back with, well, I've done 84 movies, and Reeves came back with, well, I've done 2 good ones. She-Beast and I believe The Sorcerers. So another thing that added to the whole thing was that Vincent had fallen off the horse and was hurting, and that sort of added to his dour performance. So basically, in this film, Hopkins and Stern go from town to town investigating people who were accused of witchcraft and basically torture, sometimes rape, and kill them. And in this instance, it's the local vicar who was being accused of being in league with the devil. And they go to his house, they strip him to the waist, and they got this implement, it looks like a big ice pick, that they stick in birthmarks or moles, and if you bleed, you're a witch. Then they run the victor around the house and shit like that and torture him. So basically, his daughter makes a deal with Hopkins to sleep with him if she can free the father. But when she wakes up, she finds her father and 3 other witches hung, and Hopkins gone. So she has a boyfriend who's a soldier in the British Army. They're fighting the Roundheads or whatever, and he has a crew that's with him. And basically, he goes after Stern and shoots him in the shoulder and wounds him. But Stern survives and sort of lets Hopkins know that there's like an angel of vengeance pursuing them. So they figure the best way to get out of this whole thing is to kill the daughter, accuse her of a witch. So they set her up, basically accuse her of a witch, and are taking her out of this hotel room when one of the soldiers' buddies shows up and gets blasted by a musket ball. Well, he lies dying against the wall with blood leaking out of his eyes, ears, and nose and shit. Some of this is pretty grim and grotesque. I mean, like I said, people are burned, tortured, and raped and stuff. So he manages to tell the one soldier that she was taken to the tower to be tortured. So him and his buddies decide to attack the tower, and they kill a few people in the interim, but he finally gets into the dungeon where his girl is strapped to the table and being tortured by Hopkins. When he gets in a fight with Stearns, knocks Stearns to the floor in a scene that is really cringe-worthy, he jams the heel of his boot into Stearns' eye socket and crunches it. Stearns is flopping around on the floor like a fish out of water. Then he grabs an axe and starts chopping Matthew Hopkins to bits. Then his buddies arrive and see what's going on and dispatch Hopkins with a bullet to the head. He turns around and screams, "You took him from me," and the film ends with a freeze frame on the girl's screaming face. Like I said, AIP had Vincent Price recite the Conqueror Worm over the beginning and end credits, and change the film to the Conqueror Worm. I saw it at the Embassy Theater. I forgot what the co-feature was, but this one really give me a what the fuck is going on here with Vincent Price and everything. But down the road, he would do it again. In 1970, another film imported from Great Britain called Cry of the Banshee, which he threw some post stuff on too, where Price is now the magistrate. I think the name is Whitman or something like that, and he has 3 sons and a daughter, and they're all scumbags. And there's one scene where basically they catch these 2 young people who they accuse of being witches and ask them to perform in front of a crowd that are eating dinner. And when the sister is humiliated, the brother stands up to try to defend her, and the magistrate stabs him in the heart, and he dies. Of course, the girl freaks out, grabs a fork, and tries to stab the magistrate in the neck, and she is shot by one of his sons. Well, all this leads back to a woman named Una who supposedly has a cult out in the woods. And they're torturing the local townspeople to find this out. One girl, they basically brand with an H as a heretic and throw her in a dungeon. So they go out to this coven or whatever it is, which is pretty lame for a coven because they're all dressed in white and prancing around. And the soldiers net and kill a bunch of them, and then the magistrate tells Una, "I'm letting you live so you never come back here again." Well, you don't let a witch live because she throws a curse on the whole Whitlock family with voodoo dolls and things like that and invokes this spirit. Well, the sister had made friends with a guy she found living in the woods, a young kid called Roderick, who has this medallion around his neck. Well, Roderick is not what he seems, and one of the sons is killed during a hunt for the mad dog, which is actually the Banshee, which you never see because obviously the money was spent on sets and costumes, but no money left over for a credible monster. So the one son is killed. The other son gets in a fight with his brother and actually drowns him in the dungeon while they're trying to get a confession out of the one girl. The sister is attacked and killed by some kind of creature. And the surviving brother goes out into the woods with his thug friend, confronts Una and cuts her throat and kills her, figuring that's the end of the curse. Well, it ain't. Because the magistrate is riding back with his daughter, the other son, and the assistant when the carriage stops and he finds them all dead. Previously to that, the creature was shot in the head and supposedly killed as it attacked the other daughter. So that's where the film ends. Really weird-ass film with, I don't know, it really didn't stick with me, but like I said, it was another Vincent Price deal. It was directed by Gordon Hessler, who actually directed Price in 2 other British films, Scream and Scream Again and The Oblong Box. So all this kind of witchcrafty thing led into 1970s, I can't say it was a classic, but it's one of those big hits in exploitation called Mark of the Devil, where they basically rated it V for violence and handed out vomit bags. And it starred Herbert Lom as the judge and Reggie Nader as the Witchfinder General, and it's basically the same, you know, accuse somebody of being a witch to get what they want, throw them in the dungeon, torture them, yada, yada, yada. The big payoff scene in this film was someone getting their tongue yanked out. Of course, the film was such a big hit that they had to have a sequel to it, Mark of the Devil 2, which involved some nuns and was co-billed with a film called Twitch of the Death Nerve, which was actually Mario Bava's Bay of Blood. So all these films are available on Blu-ray or DVD still. You may as well get them while you can, because you never know when physical media is going to disappear or streaming is going to stop. So that's our show for today. Again, I thank everyone for the Christmas wishes, the well wishes on my health issues, and donating to the cause. It is truly appreciated, and I truly appreciate everyone out there. So until next time, stay safe, enjoy the day, and we will catch you on the flip side with some more mayhem. So until then, bye.